Okay, we'll call it 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting of the Tuesday, September 28th, 2021, our only meeting this month. How about that? First time. Of the Granite City School District Board to order. Roll call, please. Zach.
Stacy.
Here.
Vinny.
Here.
Knogle.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Nunn here. McMasters.
Here.
Wilmsmeyer.
Here.
Forbes.
Okay, this time we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Pastor Williams with Trinity United Methodist Church. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Oh God, we are living through unprecedented times. And Lord, what a stress-filled months and over a year now it has been. Lord, each of us are full of anxiety and fear. And Lord, it leads all of us to do things and say things and act in ways that are unbecoming of the human race. And so, Lord, tonight as we gather as a district, Lord, I pray that your wisdom would fall afresh on each and every one of us, that we would wipe our minds and our hearts of all the negativity, and that we would continue to ask this question: what is the very best thing that we can do for the students of the Granite City School District? Lord, may that question guide us and lead us as we seek to educate and to form and to shape the students of this district. And Lord, I pray for the administration, I pray for this school board, I pray for the students and the staff, I pray for the parents of this district, that we would continue to find ways to work together. Lord, we are better together than we are divided and separate. So Lord, grant us a sense of peace. Grant us the knowledge that we are all in this together, that we all want what is best for the children. And Lord, we pray that you would be in our midst, that you would be the one who guides and leads, and who offers this sense of peace and unity. So Lord, again, I ask your blessing upon the meeting this evening, that your wisdom and compassion and concern, and that your overall love for all of humankind, that it would be present in all that is spoken and the actions that are taken. And again, that we do it all with a heart for what is best for the students. And Lord, we ask it all in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Lisa.
Thank you so much. Very nice. Very nice. What?
Good job, Lisa.
Very good. Public comment? I don't think we have anybody register ahead of time. Is there anybody here to give public comment tonight? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to the approval of the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 Board of Education meeting.
So moved. Second?
Thank you, Erica. I wasn't sure if you were going to get anybody or not.
I know, really very good.
Stalemate.
We haven't
Think it all
been
off.
together in such a long time, you know?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vinny.
Aye.
Knogle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Nunn aye. McMasters. Stacy.
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. That takes us to consent agenda. Items there on the consent agenda, and we can pull anything out there if we, anybody wants to talk about any particular things.
I would like to mention some of the gifts. We are so incredibly blessed in our district to have such supporting community members, and I mean that completely sincerely. Every year, at times when you least expect it, people step up in the community and really help us out. we can't use drinking fountains, in our schools with the code regulations. So we have retrofitted most of them with bottle fillers, but then we had to buy bottles for all the kids, and they could be in decent ones up to $2 a piece, and with 6,000 students. So I mentioned that, sort of offhandedly to my friend at US Steel. They said, well, we can provide water bottles. So that was amazing, to have them step forward and do that. Robin Sampson in the HR department really spearheaded the whole thing, like Kevin approved it, and the help of a lot of people all there too. And also the US Steel workers, collect money too, for school supplies. And we really had a lot of things, and they allowed us to ask, you know, what some of the schools wanted. So we got a lot of things that were specific to needs of each school, compasses and that's all.
The tractor?
Thank you. So then I had like a little, anyway, all kinds of things, including like t-shirts and clothes and just all stocks and things that kids need that we don't always need. So, and then we had FedEx deliver school supplies too. Restoration Church told us about free hand soap that they had, and we were able to go get that. The man of Cherokee, Rob Steen, gave a huge donation to the boys golf team. Johnson Road General Baptist Church gave us a huge amount of school supplies, and a particular woman from that church even helped to purchase T-shirts for Kathy Arustio's life skills kids at Prather. When they're out at the playground, I was going to say this, she asked for shirts that were oversized that they could wear over their clothes, because a lot of times it's hard to pick her kids out. They need to have special needs. We need to get to them so they can identify them quickly. So I thought that was really cool that we were able to buy those for her class from that gift too. And then the esports, which is booming here, the Jay David and Kim McCausland gave money for that, as well as Streets, Cy McGee also gave money towards that as well. So I just wanted to just mention how many people really came forward. And it happens all the time, and we really appreciate it. I know our students. Just wanted to, there were so many.
Yep, appreciate that, and almost $10,000 worth
Yep.
of donations there that come from not the taxpayers directly. So
That's right.
an incredible thing. With that, any motion for the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please, Zach.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Nunn, I, McMasters,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. Item 8A, rescind retirements.
Mr. President of the Board, administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold a discussion for executive session. The following rescinded retirements are recommended for approval. Rhonda DeWitt, Cafe GCSH, Cafe 12/31/25, Carol Natius, sixth grade teacher Grigsby, and the 24-25 school year, and Don Stratton, principal Grigsby, and the 21-22 school year.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Curran,
Aye.
Nunn, I, McMasters, Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. Item 8B, retirement and resignations.
Mr. President of the Board, the administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold the discussion in executive session. It is recommended that the following retirements, will, and resignations be accepted. Karen Topol, fourth grade teacher Mitchell, retirement end of 24-25 school year. Mary Waldman, Cafe Wilson, retirement 8/8/26. Carol Natius, sixth grade teacher Grigsby, retirement end of the 25-26 school year. Don Ham, social studies teacher, Guernsey High School, retirement at the end of 25-26 school year. And Don Stratton, principal Grigsby, retirement December 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Nunn, I, McMasters, Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So since John will be retiring in a few months, sorry,
I don't know when.
you can't tell me, I just wonder, are we like hiring to replace him a little bit? Can I ask that now?
We're kind of in the middle, we just found out, so.
Okay.
We're in there.
Okay.
We can talk about it.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we just
Sorry.
started, so we're kind of like, yeah,
Okay.
in that right now.
Thank you.
Correct, we'll definitely have to have someone, yes.
Well, right, I know we have several very
Yes,
experienced subs, so I didn't know
Yes.
if that was the route we were going, or if we we're gonna hire.
probably both.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry to throw that at you.
That's all right, that's great.
Item 8C is request for leaves of absence.
Mr. President, the board has recommended that the following leaves be approved. Shelley Markov, math teacher, official math teacher, Coolidge Junior High School, effective 8/18/21 to 11/10/21. Nikki Petrillo, assistant principal, Grand City High School, 9/21 to 11/24/21. Paul Kim, custodian at the high school, 9/7/21 to 11/30/21. Joyce Trichu, paraprofessional at Coolidge Junior High School, 10/11/21 to 1/3/22. Erica Stone, resource teacher at Wilson, 11/22/21 to 2/3/22. Angela Wampler, paraprofessional Prather, 10/8/21 to 12/31/21. Robert Bragg, sixth grade teacher, 9/2/21 to 5/28/22. Kelsey Jarvis, 10/7/21 to 12/30/21. And Allison West, speech language development at Maryville, 10/8/21 to 1/3/22.
So moved.
Second?
Quite a list there.
What's going on?
Yes, I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Roll call, please, Zach.
McMasters,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
none, I, Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8D is request to extend leaves of absence.
Mr. President, the board, the administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. It is recommended that the following extension to leaves be approved. Renee Liebner, paraprofessional, Prather pre-K, effective 8/16/21 to 12/14.
So moved. Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
none, I, McMasters, Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8E, employment of Grigsby monitor for the 21-22 school year.
Mr. President, the board, the administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. The data sheet for the full-time monitor, the recommended approval is for Richard Dawes for the Grigsby intermediate monitor position.
So moved.
Second?
Was Stacy first?
Yes. And roll call, please.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
none, I, McMasters, Stacy,
Aye.
Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8F, employment of certified classified substitutes for the 21-22 school year.
The administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. It is recommended the following applicants be board approved as substitutes for the 21-22 school year. Certified, Abigail Baker, Doug Morris, and Kathy Neal. Classified, Renee Brantley, Donald O'Brien, Mark Griffin, Heather Thomas, Laura Limmer, Christina Yeager. And pending paperwork, we still have Jada Baker and Martinea Pointer.
I think this is the most.
This is the most we've
Yeah,
had.
yeah,
We have really been out there
Yeah.
beating the bushes,
Great.
but we're so happy because we
Thank you.
really need people help, so.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Very good. Roll call, please.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
none, I, McMasters, Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8G, Granite City High School extracurricular resignations for the 21-22 school year.
The administration, Mr. President, the board is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. We are recommending that the following extracurricular resignation be accepted. Mr. George Kurgan, GCHS assistant wrestling coach.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Curran,
Aye.
none, I, McMasters, Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Abstain because my husband's a wrestling coach.
Knoble,
Aye.
Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8H, Granite City High School extracurriculars for the 21-22 school year.
Mr. President, the board administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. The administration is recommending the listed extracurricular for the 21-22 school year.
There's a bunch of them there.
They're there, so.
Do you need a motion?
Motion.
Second, Linda?
Yeah. Second.
Okay.
Right.
Stacy motion first, and Linda had a second. Roll call, please, Zach.
None, I, McMasters,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Knoble,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Wolmsar.
Aye. Item 8I, Coolidge Junior High School extracurriculars for the 21-22 school year.
The Administration, Mr. President, the board is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. District administration is recommending the following extracurricular be approved for the 21-22 school year. Mr. Nat Tichenall, assistant cross-country coach. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I said it.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McMasters.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Vinnie.
Aye.
Kanogle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
None, I. Wormsmeyer.
Aye. Item 8J, elementary extracurriculars for the 21-22 school year.
Mr. President, the board administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. District administration is then recommending the listed extracurricular for the 21-22 school year in a listed below.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Stacy.
Aye.
Vinnie.
Aye.
Kanogle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
None, I. McMasters. Wormsmeyer.
Aye. Item 8K, approval of volunteers for the 21-22 school year.
As the board, the administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. Then the administration respectfully requests board approval of the following volunteer for the 21-22 school year. Ed Bradley, Coolidge Baseball, and Ed Bradley also for GCHS Baseball.
So moved.
Second.
Give it to Tom.
Been pretty quiet over there. Very good, and we appreciate Mr. Bradley stepping up as
Yes.
volunteers for this one. Roll call, please.
Vinnie.
Aye.
Kanogle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
None, I. McMasters. Stacy.
Aye.
Wormsmeyer.
Aye.
Sorry, can I interrupt just 1 second? I'm sorry again. On the previous one with the extracurriculars for the elementary, just for those listening, can we just say like what the extracurricular is, just so we know like what kind of things are going?
They are all, first quarter lunch duty.
I know, we know that, but I, for those.
And we
viewers-
did that, if you wanna know, we did that we added extra lunch duty to help with the social distancing, so we could move some of the children further apart for that. So that was why it's first quarter and maybe second quarter.
Promise I'll be studying Robert's Rules of Order and Marty's Rules. I just keep having possibly
That's a good point, and thank you for bringing it up.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 8L is employment of Title I-A for the 21-22 school year.
Mr. President, the board administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. Otherwise, the administration respectfully requests board approval for the following applicant to serve at Wilson 1-2 Center for the 21-22 school year, pending the submission of the required paperwork. Ms. Jada Baker, Title I-A.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Kanogle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
None, I. McMasters. Stacy.
Aye.
Vinnie.
Aye.
Wormsmeyer.
Aye. Item 9, there is no old business tonight. Item number 10A is the e-learning plan for the 21-22 year.
Okay, Mr. President and Board, this is something required for us to file every year. This year, for more reasons than others, is that the remote learning, any kind of form, like during inclement weather, has to be approved through the e-learning plan through the Regional Office of Education. So I turned a lot of this over to Mr. Steve Mathis and Liz Niepert, and I think Steve is here to explain a little bit of it, just to give you an overview, and approval is recommended at the end. Steve, are you there?
Yep, good evening. So what the e-learning plan does is, as the superintendent already stated, it gives us another option in lieu of what the traditional emergency day, which is most commonly known as a snow day. What this plan does is it allows us an opportunity, the state asks us to speak out all the things that we've done so far to address the needs of our students and how we will deliver e-learning to make sure that all students are able to engage with the day if we decide to call it. Traditional snow days will probably be an example of where we would execute a plan like this. The emergency day, where we shut down school totally and kids don't engage remotely, is still an option. Some situations that might warrant that would be something like a tornado that would cause large parts of our community to lose power. This is more something that where people still have power, but maybe travel is treacherous, or it could be something like if the building has a gas leak. The details in the plan just basically tell how we will notify parents, what we've done to provide them the opportunity to learn remotely, all things that we have done in the COVID era to make sure that we were able for our students to engage in remote learning last year.
And they did a lot of work on it, or it's pretty specific, and it works well for any type of emergency we may have, something happens where they Church of the Home provides us with that remote learning option. It's required by the state.
I think it's the only positive to come out of COVID, because I remember
Yeah.
when the school was flooded, the basement, the whole
Right,
district just stopped.
right.
When we had the dust to clean up in the high school, we just stopped.
And now we have
and
computers,
It is
too.
really a benefit that we don't lose those concentration. It's probably the most positive thing I think come out
And
of it.
doesn't this help
Brought up
with
my share,
some of
but
the
just refresh
tournaments
it.
and that, where you don't have
I
to,
mean, lessons change.
you know, if we miss days, you push the school out farther. Haven't they had issues in the past where, like a tournament, like was, for an athletics tournament was, the date was changed because school was canceled and,
I don't know.
I think that was brought up originally.
I can check.
Back when we last passed.
I think your point is, Colin, if they're not there at school that day, are they allowed to play sports, and participate in sports that day for a game or something like that? Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, but I think there was stuff with like when graduation moved or
You're talking about
big
the
events
making
can
up
get
at the
moved
end.
because of the way you
Yeah,
have to
every year
extend
state
the
track
day,
is
the year,
always-
you know, you extend everything.
I don't think athletics though, like, if, I'll look all it up for you.
Okay.
I'll give it to you, but it's more for like if we were to have an outbreak at a school too. So that we
Right.
could have, well, the good thing is every student, kindergarten now has, more touchable screens and they have them at school, but everybody else has their Chromebook and still taking it home, so it allows them, you know, to be able to do that and log on to their teachers, because will be required to do remote learning on those days as well. But I'll look into what you're talking about. I'm not sure.
To echo Bill's point, I think, yeah, it's one of the few good things that have come out of
Yeah,
this.
you're right.
I very much appreciate the detail provided. I know
They
that's a
did a
lot
good
of work.
job.
Yeah.
They
Just
really
one
did.
off-the-wall question, because that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Is there still flexibility for your discretion to call a good old-fashioned snow day? Like, it's beautiful white fluffy snow, we can go out and play, or?
No, I put them in as
Is it pretty
those
much-
days as remote days, I mean,
Okay.
you might be able to, but I've already counted them as
Yeah,
attendance
no,
days,
that's
and we would have to add a day at the end. I mean,
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know, there is some sad parts about that as well, I understand,
Thank you.
no problem.
And if everybody's in favor here, we will need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mathis, appreciate it. Any additional discussion? Roll call, please, Jack.
Kern,
Aye.
Nunn, I, McMasters.
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Kanogle,
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. Item 10B is on the budget, and we will need to a motion and a second, and then a vote to temporarily adjourn the Board of Education meeting so that we can open the public hearing for the budget.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Nunn, I, McMasters. Stacy,
Aye.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Kanogle,
Aye.
Kern,
Aye.
Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. And at this point, the public hearing is open, and I'd ask Zach, if you would please,
Good evening.
good evening.
I'm gonna let Mr. Mitchell get this all set up here. If any of you want to follow along on your Chromebooks, I emailed you a copy of the presentation. It might be a little easier to see. This budget is probably a little better than last year's budget. There was quite a bit of uncertainty in last year's budget. This one feels a little better to me, although there is always need for uncertainty in school district finance. It always changes basically by the month. So, real quick overview. Was working? I got you. I got you. Go to the next slide, please. We had a $2 million increase in evidence-based funding this year. Last year we were held flat, so we're still playing catch-up. We'd like to eventually get those $2 million made up to us, as the legislature had talked about. We kind of budget and future cast on that money, so at some point we would love to see the budget at the Illinois State Board of Education pop up a little bit, dump a little more money in to eventually bring us back up to where that money is in our formula. We also saw a $4 million increase in corporate personal property replacement tax. This is a moving target every year, and just because they tell you you're going to get it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. So where last year they had projected a about $4 million decrease, we are now looking at a $4 million increase. We got some of it last year. It is I really don't believe it until June 30th when I see all the money in the bank, although the first couple payments have been pretty on par with what they said. We have $8 million of additional CARES grant money to use this year. That's the ESSER 2 funds. We are using that again for student and staff devices for remote learning, COVID supplies, and retaining educational staff. We have held on to a lot of staff with some declining enrollment in order to keep class sizes low and to make sure we could provide additional supports where needed after school through online enrichment, all that programs. We have quite a bit of that going on. We're also using it to cover some of our increased nursing costs that we're having. We need nursing help now. I know we need bus drivers. We also need nursing help. And we also have some extended school year stuff with summer school. We did an extra session of summer school. We will probably do the same thing next year, I would imagine. A lot more costs for summer school on that, but we felt it was very valuable to starting to make up some of the learning loss that we might have had. We had competitive wage adjustments to keep pace with minimum wage and minimum teacher salary increases. We need to do this in order to maintain our competitive advantage or build a competitive advantage, because as you can see by the bus driver shortage and everything else, we are fighting just like everybody else for staff. We have a roof at Coolidge being replaced. That was $1 million project. We had the drive it at Coolidge replaced. That was a $250,000 project. We are looking to upgrade the HVAC at Grigsby next year. That will be used with ESSER 2 funds. That's probably about a $2.8 million project. We'll completely redo all the HVAC in that building. We added a COVID recovery coordinator, used ESSER 2 funds for that. We saw a 5% increase in health insurance. That was pretty good. We were kind of happy with that. We saw a 7% increase last year. Hopefully we can get another 5 or 6% increase next year and we'll be in even better shape. We have some network infrastructure upgrades. The core switch is probably 10 or 11 years old at the high school, and we have dumped a ton more work on it with all the remote learning and all the devices. The backbone and infrastructure of our network needed a pretty serious upgrade. We have put some money in for a traffic solution at Grigsby, if that's what the architects decide is the best traffic flow situation. And then obviously we have some expanded summer school and after school programs with ESSER 2. There's some other stuff in there. We've got some money for supplies and materials, additional COVID cleaning supplies. It's kind of become the catch-all for anything that was unexpected or arose from COVID, which has been very nice because it hasn't affected our normal everyday operating budget. Go ahead and hit the next slide. Did it work that time?
It did.
Oh, winner. Revenue by fund. This is just a quick overview slide. You can see most of the revenue goes into Fund 10 and Fund 20. The rest of them are just there. Fund 40 is probably the third highest. That's pretty good. Debt service is down there, and 90 and 70 and 80 are down there. They are in good shape. All those funds are in good shape. We're starting to recover from our Fund 90. Our fund balance is starting to recover. I'll cover some of that with the audit and the tax levy as we get to it. It's a little ahead of schedule because we don't have the audit done yet, but Fund 90, we drained it on the high school with the flood and the ceiling. We're starting to get a little insurance money back. That's our health, life, safety.
For lay people watching at home, could you give a quick overview of what different funds mean?
10 is the education fund, 20 is operations and maintenance, 30 is debt service, that's where we pay our bonds, 40 is transportation, 50 is IMRF, Social Security, and FICA, 60 is our capital projects fund. If we passed a referendum to build a school or something like that, we would put that money in the capital fund. From debt service, we'd move it to, we don't have that right now. 70 is working cash, that is basically our savings account. 80 is tort, that goes for insurance and attorney's fees, liabilities, and 90 is health, life, safety. That's kind of our improvement fund. I call it my insurance plan. So when the ceiling collapsed, we didn't have to take from the general fund or something that may have affected kids. We had that fund, we had a little safety net to where we could get that project done.
Thank you.
Expenditure by fund, as you can see, most of the expenditures pretty much follow the revenues. You can see Fund 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. They are all balanced. The light blue line is last year's budget. The dark blue line is the actual, and the yellow line is this year's budget. So you can see that there's quite a bit of increase. We actually came in slightly under budget last year. There was some contributing factors to that. One, we did not have some of the subs we normally do because of remote learning, and there was just a little less expense. We did pretty good through the pandemic. And transportation was down quite a bit, so I will explain more of that in just a minute when we get into fund balances. But transportation, we're going to see a little decrease in revenue coming up because our reimbursement from the state is going to run a little short because we didn't expend as much as we had before. So it's okay, I anticipate it. But those are expenditures. Obviously, again, we will have a balanced budget. You can see here, last year we kind of projected that we were going to be a little, the blue line is revenue and the gold line is expenditures. This year we're back to having a balanced budget in our operating funds, which is good. It gives us a little cushion, a little comfort, and ability to handle any type of oddball situation that arises. It's also allowed us to get some of the facility upgrades done with the roof at Coolidge and the HVAC projects, even though that's ESSER money. We were able to do a roof at Mitchell, we did a roof at Prather, we did HVAC at Prather. We've knocked out some capital improvement projects while we've had some decent cash flow and some fund balances. So we have done pretty well. This is a breakdown of Fund 10's revenue. You can see that the light blue line is last year, the dark blue line is this year. Local property went up a little bit. We saw an increase in EAV, which gave us a little increase in our local property. CPPRT, I had pretty much erased it from the Ed Fund last year. We got to add a little bit of CPPRT back into the Ed Fund this year. So you can see that revenue line went up. Let me see if I can.
That explains the CPPRT.
CPPRT is Corporate Personal Property Replacement Tax. It is something that we get from the state. It is based upon revenues of corporate personal property. It was done, I want to say in the late 70s.
78.
78, because the year I was born, that's what I was trying to say. And it basically, they made some changes and they gave us that revenue stream, and I'm sorry I don't know the complete history off the top of my head, but we now get CPPRT. We are a very tax-rich CPPR district. We get a lot of CPPRT money compared to other districts. But it also gives us one more variable that fluctuates. It's one more thing that fluctuates. Local other, that remained about the same. State EBF, you can see that it went up. That's the $2 million increase. Other state remained about the same. That's categoricals for special ed and other pre-K and all that. Most of that remained about equal. State, birth to 3, that's right there, that remained the same, and state other remained about the same. Federal went down a little. That is cafeteria revenue, because we don't have everybody here and serving all our lunches has gone down a hair, kind of anticipated. Federal title ticked up a little bit, federal IDEA ticked up a little bit, and this federal other is basically ESSER. So that's where you see that big increase. Fund 20 revenue, same thing, property taxes, we got a little bit more off the levy. CPPRT, we put a good majority of that corporate personal property replacement tax in there to handle some projects. And then, again, the ESSER 2 funds are quite a big chunk of the overall budget in the operations and maintenance fund. 40, same thing, a little bit more property taxes. We dumped a little more corporate personal property replacement tax in to cover the increase that we were assuming we were going to have. Local stayed about the same, and we put some ESSER funds in to CPP, or to, oh, wait a minute, didn't move that time. 40, sorry. CPPRT, we added some money in, local property taxes. State aid, you can see here is the regular ed and special ed. You can see a decrease in revenue for this year. That is because the expenses were down for last year. We had been spending about $5 million. We spent about $3.8 million in transportation with COVID. So what's going to happen is when those expenses come back, our revenue will lag a year because we'll get paid for this year, next year. So one of these years, we're going to chew up that extra $1 million of fund balance in there while the state writes itself with reimbursements. Fund 10 expenditures, the 100s are salaries, the 200s are benefits, the 300s are purchase services, 400s are supplies and materials, 500s are capital outlay, 600s are dues and fees, but it's basically tuition. 700s are non-capital expenditures. Think of computers, network switches, think of stuff in about the $1,000 range. And then you can see the total, that is the expenditures, little increase in salaries, little increase in benefits. Everything else is pretty similar to last year because we had a lot of the same COVID purchases from the year before, the same amount of Chromebooks, stuff like that. 600 tuition is about the same. Everything else is about equal, but that's just a good overview of where it's spent. Most of it is salaries and benefits. Fund 20, same thing, 100 salaries and benefits, a little uptick in purchase services and supplies and materials are about like last year, just simply because of COVID, extra cleaning supplies. 500s, this is our capital outlay. We've added a couple extra projects this year with the ESSER funds, so you can see that budget is moving up quite a bit as compared to the year before. And then the 700s over here are about the same. 40, we contract our bus service, so we budgeted last year for expenditures here. We came in here, we moved it back up this year as we were unsure of what we were going to face, so we had a pretty normal budget based upon what we expected last year. We'll see where it ends up. We may end up lower than that based upon lack of bus drivers. 400s down here is just basically fuel for the buses. We buy our own fuel, and you can see that the budget increased slightly over last year. For expenditures, this is the historical surplus and deficit. In 14-15, the blue is the projected, the red is the actual. You can see how we progressed through last year. Now, we projected a $3.8 million deficit. We expected that really to be about a 1.6 or 1.8 because we were planning on spending some fund balance down that we had accumulated to do some roofs and stuff like that from the year. It worked out that we ended up about plus $5 million. A lot of that was ESSER funds in there that went to cover some current projects we had and also handled some expenses that we were able to write off to it. We also got an additional $4 million of CPPRT last year. They told us we were going to get 7, we got 11. So it picked up late in the year. It allowed us to get a little more fund balance so we could take on the whole Coolidge roof project at once and also start looking at a couple future roof projects as well, and get the drive it done and a few other projects. Also in there is about $1.5 million of transportation reimbursements that will be spent when we flip back. So some of that is, oh,
Yeah, hold on. Our staff is not seeing your presentation, so give me a second here. So we need to fix that. Thank you, Kristen.
so last year, you're probably looking at about a $3.5 million surplus, which was really good. This year, we're projecting about a $1.6 million operating fund surplus. Although, like I said, with CPPRT, you're never quite sure. Sorry, moving on. Can you advance me?
Is that right?
So, yeah, perfect. When you see these fund balances, also please remember, I will present on our financial profile score and at the audit meeting or at the tax levy. We still do not have the amount of cash on hand for ISB's guidelines. That is the only thing we're negligent in our financial profile score. We're a 3.9 out of 4. They would like 100 days of cash on hand. We have not been there yet. I personally would like to get about 6 months of cash on hand. That means we could operate without any funds, meet our obligations for 6 months. I would really like to achieve that level. We're getting close to that, to where we can be reactive and not where we get a year to fix something before we had to like panic or do mass layoffs, or we could work our way out of it without, catastrophic cuts to programs. And so it would really behoove us to get to that level of fund balance to where we met the state minimum requirements. Items for consideration, I always kind of go over some of I had a whole bunch last year. I'm a little more comfortable this year, although I will say staffing. I am getting nervous about fully staffing buildings. I'm getting nervous about everybody from the bus driver to the superintendent. I'm nervous that we can even attract competitive people, not because of anything other than they're just not there. They're just not here. There are teacher shortages, there's bus driver shortages, there's custodian shortages, we have no subs. That is just my concern. Infrastructure concerns / capital improvements. We've been working with Eric, we've been making really good ground on knocking out some projects, modernizing our buildings, getting some things fixed that had needed to be fixed. I think we're going to basically tuck point the entire high school, or anything that needed it, bring that one up, because some of that was in disrepair. We've done a roof at Coolidge, a roof at Prather, a roof at Mitchell. We're hoping to do a roof at Grigsby, or Frohart, whichever one he says is next. The infrastructure seemingly is going pretty well. One-to-one sustainability. Now that we have Chromebooks everywhere, we have to keep them. That is all coming from ESSER funds at the moment. So we're going to have to recycle them. They're probably good for about 4 years, and then they've probably reached their useful life. So one-to-one sustainability. And then scaling back after CARES and avoiding a financial cliff. We've been able to fix a lot of problems with staff and getting staff. At some point, we're probably going to have to figure out what our staffing levels should be post-COVID and start working towards those based upon enrollment figures. reasonable class sizes, stuff like that. I think that it's coming.
Next page.
And then I will entertain questions. I feel much better this year than I did last year. I was sweating last year.
And we will open it up for comment, public comment here from the board or from anybody in the audience. Or any questions for Zach? And I'll start off, I just wanna say, so all of these things done this year, all these projects we talked about, again, no additional debt, which I think is a huge thing. And yes, I too agree, we need to get to that point where we got that rainy day fund and have enough money in the bank to continue to operate. And I know you're chipping away at that and getting there. But to take on all these projects that got done this year, without taking on any additional debt, I think is a huge credit to the staff here, to your John, Zach, and the superintendent. So, good job.
We're doing our best.
Zach, what is, can you explain to the board, what is the overall debt load for the district currently?
We have right around $7 million of debt outstanding, which is very low for most school districts.
Yeah.
We are about 3 to 4 tax levies from being completely, the 2023 levy is the last of our bonded indebtedness.
Yeah, and I think what we have the ability to go up to, what is our debt limit? What's the ceiling on that, perhaps? It's well over 100, isn't it? 100 million?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
For buildings, it's different for capital or for working cash, but for major improvements, buildings, stuff like that, the debt limit is pretty high.
Yeah.
I think for $7 million for a district, any district, but a district our size, is incredible at this point. Getting it down, continuing to chip away at that, pay to make that payment every year. Very low. Questions or comments?
I mean, I just want to echo a lot of what Dennis said, to have a balanced budget after everything that has happened in the last couple of years, and some of the projects that we've been able to knock off with building and grounds. Like, you know, you're not going to get a parade thrown for tuck pointing a building, but we're knocking off some super important stuff that has been needed to be done and maintaining a balanced budget. So yeah, kudos to you and to Eric and everyone else involved.
It ultimately saves money in the future.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
If we approach that cliff and then have a bunch of roofs to replace, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
That's just-
Listen,
Roofs are leaking, affect all the stuff inside.
Yeah.
So,
the administrative staff down here really have a lot to do with this. I manage the budget and work with them. They are very good at making sure things are in budget and asking and saying, hey, can we afford this, or what do you think? It is a team effort down here, and it's not just me, it is everybody that works down here.
Great point.
Good team effort.
Last chance, any comments? All right, at this point, I will thank you, Zach, appreciate it. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinny,
Aye.
Knogle,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
None, I, McMaster, Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. And we're back in at the regular board meeting, regular session. And at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 school district budget resolution.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? And roll call, please.
McMasters.
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Vinny,
Aye.
Knogle,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
None, I, Wilmsmeyer.
Aye. Thanks again, Zach, appreciate that. Do we need the thing in there? Thank you. Item 10C is the Granite City School District number 9 and the City of Granite City joint proposal to apply for safe routes to school funding from the Illinois Department of Transportation.
Yes, I'm thrilled to have Mayor Parkinson and Ms. Paula Hubbard here tonight. They kind of approached us with, she's been working for the city, am I okay to say that? As finding grants and money, and she's good at that. And so they came to us with this particular one, which is very timely, safe routes to school, in the middle of trying to get kids to walk and ride their bikes down to some schools that they don't have bus transportation to. So it becomes an even more vital grant in this particular time. So we really are happy to be working with you on this, because it's really necessary. And I'm gonna hand it over to the two of them to decide, because they're mostly handling this. She's writing it, there's a map We're gonna pull up on the screen behind you too for some ideas we have on what to do, and I'm gonna let them explain a little bit. Thanks for being here, too.
Yeah, so, thanks to Paula for finding this, this grant for us. Everybody knows the catastrophe we've had at Grigsby recently, and, the city wanted to help out. I think things have subsided out there and things are a little bit better, but, in the process of looking at the traffic issues out there, we saw a need for sidewalks that wasn't safe for kids to be walking, so, Paula found this grant, and what we're looking at is the map of the Grigsby, and I'm a little lost where you're at there, Chris, you kinda lost me on it, but, where is Grigsby? Okay, here's the pond. Where is Grigsby? Here it is, okay, so, really, the path that we're looking at for the sidewalk would come straight down Cargill here towards the Legacy Golf Course. It would then go around the building and up through the parking area off of Pontoon Road. It would allow kids, when they come out of school, to have a sidewalk to walk on as they're going to their parents' cars, as they're being picked up in the afternoon or dropped off in the morning, but it would just basically follow that path all the way down here. It's quite a bit of sidewalk. It would go all the way up towards Pontoon Road on the Cargill side as well, and would then drop all the way down to the entrance to the golf course, the first entrance to the golf course past the farmhouse. We think it's a safer way for the kids to be able to walk or ride their bike to and from school. It also allows parents a better distance for their kids to get to their car safely, and it will eliminate some of the traffic problems in the area. And as the kids leave the school, on the back side of the school, they'll be able to walk to their cars safely without having to zigzag between cars. So we're glad that we can help in partnership with the school. That's what good government does, so
It's
thank you
perfect
guys.
timing. Thank you very much, and right now, and just know that Grigsby has no sidewalks. They have no way to get from Pontoon Road or anywhere, on a sidewalk. There was a parking lot, but no sidewalks. So this is, the best timing probably you could ever have to, on this. So we're appreciative. There's, the IDOT, if we get it, is a large amount, and then we're going in and splitting that, whatever else we would have to put forward to make that happen.
How we've had a school out there this long and not having sidewalks is beyond me, but it's time for us to fix that, so.
I think
That's
that,
proactiveness, right?
Correct.
I think that a lot of it came to light from on my behalf, when I was involved with the traffic situation and saw all the teachers out there, the administrative people here in the building went over there. We had a train going by that blocked the flow of traffic, not only on 162, but across the tracks of Cargill. It was a mess, but everybody was so cool. Parents, everybody in the car were very nice. There was courtesy, but there was definitely a problem because the kids had to stand in the grass, be kept away from the street, so that when their parents came by, they identified themselves and their child and were given the permission to get in the car. But it was a major thing, but it was done so well and handled so well by our staff and the parents. Picked it up.
We just appreciate you for bringing that to our attention and allowing us to be a part of it.
Thank you so much.
The resolution is in here and will have to be signed.
So when we apply, what's the timeline for like considering it?
So, we didn't find out about it until Wednesday before last, it's due this Thursday. We will find out within 2 months, 2 to 3, probably sooner. And I have to mention that the partnership has been very good. We've received lots of information from Mr. Stratton, Officer Maui, and Superintendent Can. And the full grant is right at 300,000, and you have to match funds. So the 250 comes from them, and 25 from both, so that there's investment from both groups. 25 grand from the city and 25 from the district.
Now, will these be rather large, wide sidewalks for the kids to?
They'll be ADA compliant. Absolutely, so they're pretty large.
I remember this.
They're 6 feet.
Yeah, that's wonderful. They used to call it Safe to School. Is it still called Safe to School?
Yep, that's what we got.
Okay, because I know the Mitchell area was trying to get something going there when, years ago.
We're thrilled.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Parkinson, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Your attention. Paula, thank you.
And I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go try to watch your soccer team play, so.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Bye-bye. That's okay.
And we will need a motion and a second on this. So moved.
Second.
We cut you out, Bill, sorry.
It's okay.
Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Vinnie,
Aye.
Kanogle,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Nunn, I, McMaster, Stacy,
Aye.
Holmesmeyer.
Aye. Item 10D, Linda, you wanted to talk about reviewing committees?
Yes, I am recommending to the board, that we, as individual members, along with our superintendent, review the, current board, committees. We've had, many of us have served on these committees for quite a while. And I think with, the conditions today, especially in a post-pandemic period, we find that some of them may not be appropriate at this time. We might find that they are designated to meet, we want to ask ourselves if they're designated to meet the present needs of our community and our district. Some or all of them may need revisions, omissions, additional language, and especially clarification of purpose. We need to state and agree on goals of our committees with the help of our educational leader, and what improvements we are looking for. What do we want those improvements to look like? What resources will we need to use or aid us in understanding how we reach the goals we set? And what deadline, if any, do we set for accomplishing our committee goals? I mean, I know when I was on committees, I really didn't know the background for them as well until we asked Tom to send us the description and policy. So I gave everybody that committee board's copy. So, and you can see that they have special committees. These are usually, the purpose is to get some kind of special job done and then dissolve the committee when it's time to give a report. An example would be something like the Student Advisor Committee, where I know Zach and I took maybe 3 or 4 days to do that and to give give our opinion on a wonderful selection, Matt. And also, maybe the attendance at the IASB, that's two people can go, and there's a really, it's a great meeting, division meeting, but it only is that one opportunity. So there's things that the special meetings can. There are also the standing committees, and these are created for an indefinite term, such as the policy committee. Now, some committees will have structure that will take years to complete, and will the adjustments to those strategies will be possibly be taking several times to arrange. So the use of data will aid in that and accomplish the best outcome. So
Yep.
I'm recommending that we take a look at it, all of us, and see if there's some changes we need to make for the benefit of the community and the district.
Appreciate that, Linda. So Linda and I talked a couple of weeks ago, and she's right. There's probably a total of, I'm just gonna guess, 25 committees, and that's just a wild guess, but a lot of those don't meet. A lot of those probably have not met in years. So it's time to take a look from a consolidation perspective, if nothing else. I guess one question, Mr. Schooley, is there anything out there that you're aware of, school code or otherwise, with a minimum number of committees or certain committees that need to be in place?
Well, yeah, you can see the legal reference on 2:150, the 105 ILCS 510/2014. Yeah, that's, and then the 14.8.05, those are the citations to, I think, the Parent Teacher Advisory Committee and the Behavioral Interventions Committee. There are certain committees, yes, that we have to have. And I can certainly get those citations and present that to staff, the superintendent can for the ones that we legally are required to have.
You know, I gotta hand it to Linda for bringing this up, and I'm not gonna throw more work at you unless you're really ready for it. But I think maybe the policy committee, kind of maybe taking a first blush at this, just starting to take a deep dive into these committees, what should be there, what shouldn't be there. I think that's probably the closest we have to a review committee for this. And if you're willing to take that on, Linda, and kind of really look at that and come back with a recommendation to the full board at some point here, I think would be good, unless there's other thoughts from the board here.
And we can give it a good start by just kind of going through one by one some of these and comparing some of them with the others. Sometimes you can combine committees together and make something brand new that might be much more effective than they were individually. So we'll see what we can find out.
I think if you took that on, Linda, and were willing to spearhead that, for example, if there's a committee that has 2 members and an alternate, you could contact them and maybe for a short period decide, outline their committee, and then move on to another with the members who are in that committee, and sort of define, do we need them, don't need them, or
One of the
how we want to adjust. Yeah, I think that'd be a good.
Some of them are very vague and could be read in any direction, so that's one of the things we want to do is pinpoint what we need from those committees for this school district and define those needs.
You could be the new committee on committees.
I had been thinking that in my head, Bill, so I had to be on that. I was thinking that. For committees.
I don't know that we need a motion on that, Tom. Do we need to?
Send it to the
No.
committee?
No,
Just
okay,
yeah,
very good.
just a record.
Just send.
Any other discussion on this item though?
I appreciate your leadership on this.
Yeah,
though,
this is
Linda.
fantastic.
Thanks.
It really is.
Thank you.
Time to take a look at it, that's for sure. All right, thank you again, Linda, appreciate that. Item 10E, Erica, you wanted to talk about attendance centers?
Yes, so, speaking of committees, I am on the attendance center committee, and I feel quite confident that once we do the audit of our committees and determine what we ask and what we keep and what we, whatever, the attendance center committee will probably remain. And the work that we need to do is crucial. I think, in education, we always say good practices are constantly have like a cycle of reevaluation to check in and see, is the program you're offering or the procedures that you're doing, is it still holding up and serving the needs of our community, of our children? And it's time to revisit, I wouldn't even say revisit, but Talon and I are ready to activate our committee on attendance centers. Many people refer to our schools as neighborhood schools. Talon and I think other people would probably agree, we don't want to really define them as neighborhood schools because we want to be as forthcoming and transparent with that as possible. We are going to get to a point where we have actual neighborhood schools. So we're talking about, like attendance centers, that has a vibe to it too, but Talon and I were talking, in preparation for tonight, and we decided we really just want to be talking about redistricting our schools and the feasibility of that. And so the first step in that process is to make sure that we're being really thoughtful and purposeful in what we're doing. We don't want to rush any decisions. We want everything to be data driven by an abundance of data from an abundance of stakeholders. Those are community members, families, students, district staff, principals, teachers. We want to hear how things are currently going, how things could be. And so we want to create a very purposeful plan to do that. Obviously, we welcome input from everyone, but we felt like for a while this is something that's due to happen anyway. It's time, again, like in a cycle of occurrences, after so many years, you want to reevaluate and do a check-in to make sure that we are being the best financial stewards for our district, and also providing the best program and schooling for our children and our families and our teachers as well. So, yeah, I think we're just ready to get to work, honestly. I was just kind of giving you guys that. I don't know if we have anything official with that. One sort of internal goal that Tal and I have set for ourselves is we would like to have a plan for a plan. You know, we're very meta tonight. We're, you know, committee for a committee, a plan for a plan. So by next board meeting, and that's quite ambitious, but we would like to have a general project plan in terms of these are the steps we'd like to take to research, gather data, talk to various stakeholders. Then another phase would be, you know, going over all of that data, evaluating, analyzing, and then ultimately with the end goal in the third phase, or I guess a third phase would be designing a plan, an actual plan, like do we make any changes, do we stick with what we have, etc. And then the fourth phase would be implementation. And then like any great curricular plan and cycle, you'd start all over again in a few years, you know, you'd like constantly check in and see. But I think it's quite timely. You know, with the bus circumstances, that definitely has been a challenge for us as we see, and you know, through no fault to anyone, but it's shown some vulnerabilities this year, you know, and again, we just, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're providing the best learning environments for our kids. So that was my discussion on it.
Start thinking about it.
Yep, it's good to go through this process, good to evaluate how we're doing, and to honestly keep that fresh. So thank you for taking that on as well. Appreciate that.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
I will say that I think that you're right when you talk about those phases. I do want people to know that those aren't necessarily fast.
Yes.
I think that to do it well, we need to, like you said, plan, evaluate. I think we need to move that way, but we need to take it very purposefully.
Yeah, what we don't want is a snap judgment and
Exactly.
then fall out from that. Thank
Amen
you.
to that. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Any additional
Thank you,
comments
Erica.
on that?
Only, Erica, I remember when the board did this, it probably met with mixed reviews in the community, but I think there was a pretty much a full court press from admin that it had a lot of benefits for children's education, first of all. Secondly, teacher collaboration times, that would be amazing. Economic savings where the district was in hard, and we knew that after any program is in 3 or 4 years, it should be evaluated, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear maybe some kind of survey coming out of either teachers, how they're feeling about it.
Yep.
Often I hear teachers do not like it, yet there's all this amazing collaboration time. On the other hand, I don't know if it's the vocal minority or the majority. So I would like to hear how the teachers respond. I would like to hear, was there much savings that we realized or not realized?
Yeah.
And in this time of busing, it doesn't matter maybe what we want to do or not. If more people can walk, that may be the only way we can do it. But I really appreciate you taking this on too, because it's time to evaluate it, and it may still be a legitimate way to do this.
Yeah.
But I've heard of districts that have done it and also gone back, and that's always a little discouraging. But ultimately, if it's a better result, then we say, this is better,
Yeah.
and we move on. And so I really do appreciate you doing this too.
Yeah,
because
and
it's
you
well
know,
needed now at this time.
Thank you. And I think a lot of us have, you know, like me personally as a mother, you know, I live right behind Wilson School, so I love the idea of that. But ultimately, this is a feasibility study, and this is a cost-benefit analysis, you know, I'll throw out all those terms, but it really is. And so Tal and I are approaching this, we were trying, you know, like, it really is from a neutral base. We're putting our own personal feelings aside, and it's really to look at what are the facts, what do the facts say, and what does the data say, and the stakeholders, again, teachers, families, administrators, building administrators. And again, I think it's important to involve children as well. I mean, I work in an elementary school, you can get a lot of interesting ideas from a kindergartner, even to, I mean, I'm not gonna give them a Google form, but you know, like, there's a lot that you can learn, and we want to try to gather as much data as possible. So that's where that time will take, because we want everyone to have a voice, and we want to do it as efficiently as possible, but also as thoughtfully and thoroughly as possible, because these have very real consequences in the lives of children, the budget of our schools, you know, the function and operations of our schools. So it's something that he and I feel very strongly. I keep talking for you, Tom. Feel free to
Yeah,
chime
well,
in.
I just want to reiterate what you said about how we can't really go back to the neighborhood schools model that everybody is in love with, because we don't have that many schools. People aren't keen on paying more money to build a few of them, and do we even have enough population to justify something like that? So it is a matter of looking at it like, you know, which grades do we put in each school, and is there a hybrid model, and whatever. It's just that, you know, I think we can probably come to some kind of an agreement that would make some folks happier than the current layout, depending on what the data shows us. But it's not gonna be that true return to, oh, you know, Metering House didn't even have buses at one time, you know, that kind of a thing. Because it can't be that way. But it's gonna be interesting to get into the weeds and see what all that data tells us, and what any surveys tell us, and interviews, and all of that. So I'm looking forward to it.
And this is something,
Yes.
and this is something I know people have very strong feelings, very different ways on. I wanna be very clear and probably reiterate it like 100 times. We're not making any promises that it's gonna have a certain outcome.
Right.
All we can promise is that we want to engage everyone in a really thoughtful data analysis and make a good decision that what we all truly believe is in the best interest of our kids.
I think what you're saying, Eric, is we're embarking on a journey
Yep.
here.
We
We don't
are
know what the end
embarking.
product looks like or what that end thing looks like,
Yeah.
but we'll
Remains
find
to be
out
seen.
along
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's for the best educational experience for each of the children that are out there.
I agree, yeah.
And to be open about it. That
Yeah.
we'll let
Exactly.
people, if we, whatever the decision is made, decisions, it's more than one decision, but
Right.
whatever's made, we'll let everybody know why.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and I was gonna say too that, I'm hoping that, your committee will be able to kind of update the board from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, when you have something that you want to share with us as you're progressing, and I will do the same thing with my committee.
Good.
So that we can keep the board and the public aware of how we're progressing. And maybe we have to step back sometimes, take a look at something that just didn't work out real well. So, but that's part of the process. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, appreciate that. No action needed on that item. Item 11A through G. Item A, you wanna talk about FOIA?
Yeah, we've received two FOIA requests under the Freedom of Information Act during the period of August 24th through September 21st, 2021. The first request was received on September 2nd from Carla Barrett. Requested the following information: request for disseminating information regarding health and safety of the general public, CARES Act money, how was it spent, and what stipulations were attached. Second request was received on September 27th from Linda Andreas. Requested the following information: please provide all sex ed curricula K-12, PDF electronic copy, Granite City School District and Madison County, including copies of all lesson plans, copies of books and videos. Please also provide all state requirements for sex ed together with the copies of any suggestions, books, videos, etc. These requests were handled by the administration, also with some help from our attorney Constantly as well.
Fantastic. Appreciate you doing that. Items 8B through 8G, they're activity fund statements, balance sheet statement, bank reconciliation statement, memorial fund statement, and the July activity account statement, as well as the August activity account statement. That is there for information. Do you not need an approval on those? And I think that takes us up to executive session, and I don't believe we have anything on executive session tonight. Very good. We do have approval of the executive session minutes from August 24th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Stacy? Aye. Vinnie?
Aye.
Knogle?
Aye.
Curran?
Aye.
None, aye. McMasters?
Aye.
Holmesmeyer?
Aye. And the next item is setting of the agenda for the October 26th meeting, Board of Education meeting.
I talked to Max before the meeting, and he's gonna have a report for us, hopefully, just like Kaylee did, last year, some type of report,
Great.
getting feedback from students and his own feedback as well, and
Great.
Awesome. I'm gonna show up to that meeting then, man.
The robotics team, we were talking about, I talked to Ms. Heath about maybe doing something as well, maybe a short,
Yeah.
because they built this giant robot. In case anyone doesn't know, really fast, You want the band guy grand champions at, where was the,
Yeah,
Eastern?
Eastern? Mhm.
Right, Eastern Illinois, this weekend with the help of the robotics team who built who doesn't have a name?
Ava.
Ava, new, and every time I see her, she gets better. She turns color, she moves faster, she's been performing with the band, which is really neat. The movement they're doing, I think it's called El Machina.
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina, and it's from a movie.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a futuristic theme, so if you haven't been out to see the band perform this with the robot, it's absolutely amazing. So, homecoming game's coming up, I encourage everyone to go out and watch if they can, and the game, obviously. We're really proud of them, so I wanted to give a shout out.
Appreciate that.
I didn't see that written down on the schedule with the date, gonna have the robot in there, so I'm glad this was brought up.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Very good. At that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
In a second, and we are at 7:17 PM. Thank you all for being here.